A year prior, I was a numbers nerd with no coding foundation. In the wake of attempting a web-based programming course, I was roused to the point that I selected a standout amongst other software engineering programs in Canada. After 14 days, I understood that I could get the hang of all that I required through edX, Coursera, and Udacity. So I dropped out. The choice was not troublesome. I could get familiar with the substance I needed to quicker, more productively, and for a small amount of the expense. I previously had a college degree and, maybe more significantly, I previously had the college experience. Paying $30,000 plus to return to class appeared to be reckless. I began making my own information science graduate degree utilizing on the web courses in the blink of an eye a short time later, in the wake of acknowledging it was a superior fit for me than software engineering. I scoured the prologue to programming scene. I've just taken a few courses and examined parts of numerous others. I know the alternatives, and what aptitudes are required in case you're focusing on an information expert or information researcher job. For this guide, I went through 20+ hours attempting to locate each and every online prologue to programming course offered as of August 2016, removing key bits of data from their prospectuses and surveys, and assembling their evaluations. For this errand, I went to as a matter of fact the open-source Class Central People group and its database of thousands obviously appraisals and audits. Since 2011, Class Central organizer Dhaval Shah has watched out for online courses than seemingly any other individual on the planet. Dhaval by helped me amass this rundown of assets. How we picked courses to consider. Each course needed to fit 4 models. It presents programming and, alternatively, software engineering. See, a note on programming versus software engineering, beneath. The language of guidance is Python or R. These are by a wide margin the 2 most mainstream programming dialects utilized in information science. It must be an intuitive online course, so no books or content-based instructional exercises. Concerning last mentioned, Codecademy's video lesson word processor-based courses would qualify, yet severe content instructional exercises like the ones from our instructional exercise would not. In spite of the fact that books are reasonable approaches to get the hang of programming, Python, and R, this guide centers around courses. It must be a nice length, at any rate 10 hours altogether for assessed fulfillment. How we assessed courses. We accept we secured each eminent course that exists and which fits the above rules. Since there are apparently several seminars on Udemy in Python and R, we decided to consider the most audited and most noteworthy appraised ones as it were. There is an opportunity we missed something, notwithstanding. If it's not too much trouble, let us know whether you imagine that is the situation. We incorporated normal rating and number of audits from Class Central and other survey locales. We determined a weighted normal rating for each course. In the event that an arrangement had different courses, like Rice University's Part 1 and Part 2, we determined the weighted normal rating over all courses. We likewise read content surveys and utilized this criticism to enhance the numerical appraisals. We made emotional schedule-informed decisions dependent on 3 elements. Inclusion of the essentials of programming. Inclusion of further developed, however valuable, themes in programming. For example, a few courses decide to not cover object-arranged programming. We accept this as a key theme, however not a major issue, consequently these courses just being docked marks and not barred from thought. What amount of the schedule is applicable to information science? A note on programming versus software engineering. Writing computer programs isn't software engineering and the other way around. There is a distinction of which tenderfoots may not be intensely mindful. Getting this answer from Programmers Stack Exchange. Software engineering is the investigation of what PCs can't do, writing computer programs is the act of causing PCs to get things done. The course we are searching for presents programming and alternatively addresses applicable parts of software engineering that would profit another developer regarding mindfulness. Huge numbers of the courses considered, you'll notice, do without a doubt have a software engineering segment. None of the courses, be that as it may, are carefully software engineering courses, which is the reason something like Harvard's CS50X on edX is barred. Our pick for the best programming course for information researchers is College of Toronto's Figure Out How to Program arrangement on Coursera. LTP1, The Fundamentals, and LTP2, Crafting Quality Code have a close ideal weighted normal rating of 4.71 out of 5 stars, more than 284 surveys. They likewise have an incredible blend of substance, trouble, and degree for the fledgling information researcher. This free, Python-based prologue to programming separates itself from the other 20-plus courses we considered. Jennifer Campbell and Paul Grise, two partner educators in the University of Toronto's Division of Software Engineering, which is viewed as truly outstanding on the planet, show the arrangement. The self-guided, independent Coursera courses coordinate the material in their book, Reasonable Programming, An Introduction to Computer Science Using Python 3. LTP1 covers 40% of the book and LTP2 covers another 40%. The 10 to 20% not secured isn't especially valuable for information science, which helped their case for being our pick. The teachers sympathetic and instantly sent me definite course prospectuses upon demand, which were hard to track down online before the course's legitimate restart in September 2016. Figure Out How to Program, The Fundamentals, LTP1. Course of events, 7 weeks. Evaluated time duty, 6 to 8 hours out of every week. This course gives a prologue to PC programming planned for individuals with no programming experience. It covers the rudiments of programming in Python, including rudimentary information types, numeric sorts, strings, records, word references, and documents, control stream, capacities, objects, techniques, fields, and changeability. Modules. Introducing Python, idle, scientific articulations, factors, task explanation, calling and characterizing capacities, punctuation, and semantic mistakes. Strings, input, yield, work reuse, work structure formula, and docstrings. Booleans, import, namespaces, and if explanations. For circles and extravagant string control. While circles, records, and changeability. For circles over lists, equal records and strings, and documents. Tuples and word references. Figure Out How to Program, Crafting Quality Code, LTP2. Course of events, 5 weeks. Evaluated time duty, 6 to 8 hours out of each week. You know the rudiments of programming in Python, basic information types, numeric sorts, strings, records, word references, and documents, control stream, capacities, objects, strategies, fields, and alterability. You should be acceptable at these so as to prevail in this course. LTP, Crafting Quality Code, covers the subsequent stages: planning bigger projects, testing your code with the goal that you realize it works, perusing code so as to see how effective it is, and making your own kinds. Modules. Planning calculations, how would you choose what to do in a capacity body? How would you make sense of what capacities to write in any case? Robotized testing, doctest and unitest. Investigating code for speed, subtleties of looking and arranging. Making new sorts, classes in Python. Capacities as contentions, default parameter esteems, and special cases. Partner teacher Grise likewise gave the accompanying discourse on the course structure. Every module has between around 45 minutes to more than an hour of video. There are in-video test questions, which will bring the all-out time spent contemplating the recordings to maybe 2 hours. These recordings are commonly shorter than 10 minutes each. He proceeded, furthermore, we have one exercise, 12 or 2 or so different decision and short answer questions per module, which should take an hour or 2. There are 3 programming assignments in LTP1, every one of which may take 4 to 8 hours of work. There are 2 programming assignments in LTP2 of comparable size. He underlined that the gauge of 6 to 8 hours out of every week is an estimation. Assessing time spent is staggeringly understudy subordinate, so please take my evaluations in that specific situation. For instance, somebody who knows a touch of programming, maybe in another programming language, may take a fraction of the hour of somebody totally new to programming. In some cases somebody will stall out on an idea for 2 or 3 hours, while they may float through on different ideas. That's one reason the self-guided configuration is so speaking to us. Altogether, the University of Toronto's Learn to Program arrangement runs an expected 12 weeks at 6 to 8 hours of the week, which is about standard for most online courses made by colleges. On the off chance that you want to gorge study your MOOCs, that is 72 to 96 hours, which could plausibly be finished in a little while, particularly in the event that you have a touch of programming experience. Another incredible Python choice on the off chance that you as of now have some recognition with programming, and wouldn't fret a prospectus that has an eminent slant towards games and intuitive applications. I would likewise prescribe Rice University's An Introduction to Interactive Programming in Python, Part 1 and Part 2, on Coursera. With 6,000 plus audits and the most elevated weighted normal rating of 4.93, 5 stars, this mainstream course is noted for its drawing in recordings, testing tests, and pleasant smaller than normal activities. It's marginally progressively troublesome, and concentrates less on the essentials and more on subjects that aren't relevant in information science than our number one pick. These courses are additionally part of the 7 course principles in computing specialization on Coursera. The materials are self-guided and free, and a paid testament is accessible. The course should be bought for $79 USD for access to evaluated materials. The consolidated course depiction and full prospectus are as per the following. This 2-section course is intended to assist understudies with almost no figuring foundation become familiar with the fundamentals of building straightforward intelligent applications. To make learning Python simple, we have built up another program-based programming condition that makes creating intuitive applications in Python basic. These applications will include windows whose substance are graphical and react to catches, the console, and the mouse. Suggested foundation and information on secondary school science is required. While the class is intended for understudies with no earlier programming experience, some starting software engineers have seen the class as being quick-paced. For understudies keen on some light readiness before the beginning of class, we suggest a self-guided Python learning site, for example, codecademy.com. Section 1. Course of events, 5 weeks. Evaluated time responsibility, 7 to 10 hours of the week. Week 0, articulations, factors. Comprehend the structure of this class, and investigate Python as a number cruncher. Week 1, capacities, rationale, conditionals. Become familiar with the essential builds of Python programming, and make a program that plays a variation of rock paper scissors. Week 2, occasion-driven programming, neighborhood, worldwide factors. Become familiar with the fundamentals of occasion-driven programming, comprehend the contrast among nearby and worldwide factors, and make an intuitive program that plays a basic speculating game. Week 3, canvas, drawing, clocks. Make a canvas in Python, figure out how to draw on the canvas, and make a computerized stopwatch. Week 4, records, console input, the nuts and bolts of demonstrating movement. Gain proficiency with the nuts and bolts of records in Python, model moving items in Python, and reproduce the great arcade game, Pong. Section 2. Week 5, mouse input, list strategies, word references. Peruse mouse input, find out about rundown strategies and word references, and draw pictures. Week 6, classes and item-situated programming. Gain proficiency with the nuts and bolts of item-situated programming in Python utilizing classes, and work with tiled pictures. Week 7, essential game material science, sprites. Comprehend the math of increasing speed and grading, work with sprites, and add sound to your game. Week 8, sets and liveliness. Find out about sets in Python, register crashes among sprites, and invigorate sprites. In the event that you are determined to a prologue to programming course in R, we suggest Datacamp's arrangement of R courses, Introduction to R, Intermediate R, Practice, and Writing Functions in R. Despite the fact that the last 3 include some significant downfalls. Purpose of $25 per month, Datacamp is best in classification for covering the programming essentials and R explicit points, which is reflected in its normal rating of 4.29, 5 stars. We accept the best way to deal with getting the hang of programming for information science utilizing on the web courses is to do it first through Python. Why? There is an absence of MOOC choices that train center programming standards and use R as the language of guidance. We discovered 6 such R courses that fit our testing standards, contrasted with 22 Python-based courses. The vast majority of the R courses didn't get incredible evaluations and neglected to meet a large portion of our emotional testing standards. The arrangement breakdown is as per the following. Prologue to R. Evaluated time responsibility, 4 hours. Sections. Introduction to fundamentals. Vectors. Grids. Variables. Information outlines. Records. Halfway R. Evaluated time responsibility, 6 hours. Sections. Conditionals and control stream. Circles. Capacities. The apply family. Utilities. Halfway R, practice. Evaluated time responsibility, 4 hours. This subsequent seminar on middle-of-the-road R doesn't cover new programming ideas. Rather, you will reinforce your insight into the themes in middle-of-the-road R with a lot of new and fun activities. Composing functions in R. Evaluated time responsibility, 4 hours. Sections. A fast boost. When and how you ought to compose a capacity. Practical programming. Propelled sources of info and yield. Powerful capacities. Another choice for R is take a Python-based prologue to programming course to cover the essentials of programming, and afterward get R sentence structure with a R fundamentals course. This is the thing that I did, however I did it with Udacity's data analysis with R. It functioned admirably for me. You can likewise get R with our top proposal for a measurements class, which shows the rudiments of R through coding up details issues. The competition, our number 1 and number 2 picks had a 4.71 and 4.93 star weighted normal rating, more than 284 and 6,069 surveys, separately. How about we take a gander at different other options? Python courses, dropping weighted normal evaluations. Programming for everybody, getting started with Python, and Python data structures, University of Michigan, Coursera, another incredible alternative. It has an incredible instructor, Dr. Charles Toss Severance, too. This arrangement verged on usurping our number 1 pick since it coordinated it in rating and in the greater part of the emotional standards. This course is increasingly delicate, in any case, with commentators taking note of that. It probably won't plan you just as different choices. Dr. Throw himself noticed that this course is a scaffold to further developed programming courses. I would propose that after understudies total my Python course, in the event that they are keen on all the more programming, that they would take the Rice course. We likewise felt that the audits for our number 1 pick were progressively energetic. It has a 4.8 star weighted normal rating over 4,800 plus surveys. Python A to Z, Python for data science with real exercises, Udemy. It costs cash, and has a 4.7 star weighted normal rating, more than 52 surveys. Mechanize the boring stuff with Python programming, Udemy. It costs cash, and has a 4.6 star weighted normal rating over 2,000 plus surveys. Python for beginners, from noob to expert in 22 plus hours, Udemy. It costs cash, and has a 4.6 star weighted normal rating, more than 240 surveys. Prologue to computer science and programming using Python, MIT, EDX, another great alternative. It has 4.5 star weighted normal rating, more than 240 surveys. Complete Python Bootcamp, Udemy. It costs cash, and has a 4.5 star weighted normal rating over 4,700 plus audits. Treehouse's Python arrangement, 9 courses. It costs cash. It's a well-known choice, yet there are insufficient audits to make a worth judgment. It has a 4.5 star weighted normal rating, more than 5 audits. Python, Codecademy, video less, content tool-based, intelligent course. It has a 4.5 star weighted normal rating, more than 20 surveys. Prologue to Python for data science, Microsoft, EDX. It has a 4.47 star weighted normal rating, more than 360 audits. Introduction to Programming Nanodegree, Udacity. It has a striking spotlight on web improvement. It's an incredible alternative for somebody who doesn't have the foggiest idea what kind of programming they need to do. It has a 4.4-star weighted normal rating, more than 730 audits. Note that it contains the main portion of Udacity's well-known Introduction to Computer Science course, which doesn't accommodate our incorporation rules. CS for All, Introduction to Computer Science and Python Programming, Harvey Mudd College, EDX. It has not many surveys, and a 4.33-star weighted normal rating, more than 6 audits. Programming Foundations with Python, Udacity, doesn't cover the essentials. It has a 4-star weighted normal rating, more than 7 surveys. Figure out how to program using Python, EDX, University of Texas Arlington. It has a 4-star weighted normal rating, more than 14 audits. Figure out how to code for data analysis, the Open University, FutureLearn. It has a 3.5-star weighted normal rating, more than 2 audits. Datacamp's Python Arrangement, 3 courses. It has no audits on the 2 significant course survey destinations, yet Datacamp is a mainstream choice. SoloLearn's Python 3 tutorial. It has no audits, yet has a thorough educational program and a committed fanbase. DataQuest's Python Arrangement, 3 courses. It has no audits, yet has a thorough educational program and a straightforward fanbase. R courses, plummeting weighted normal evaluations. R Programming A to Z, R for Data Science with real exercises. Udemy, costs cash. It doesn't offer as much value for your money as our #1 R offering. Evaluations are comparable, considering test size. It has a 4.7-star weighted normal rating, more than 785 surveys. Prologue to R for Data Science, Microsoft, EDX, not as much profundity as Datacamp's contribution. It has a 4.48-star weighted normal rating, more than 500 audits. R Programming, Johns Hopkins University, Coursera, doesn't adequately cover the nuts and bolts of programming. Commentators note that it is troublesome, and not positively. It has a 4.04-star weighted normal rating, over 900+ audits, notwithstanding a 2.5-star rating, more than 212 surveys on Class Central. Try R Code School. It's not long enough to fit testing measures, and doesn't adequately cover programming basics. It has a 4-star weighted normal rating, more than 260 surveys. Programming with R for Data Science, Microsoft, EDX, a greater amount of a prologue to the R language instead of programming. The course site states, on the off chance that you make them program understanding, and might want to get familiar with R, at that point you're at the ideal spot. It has a 3-star weighted normal rating, more than 12 audits.